Hello everyone, my name is Nazarii Volianskyi. I'm director of ZPP office in Ukraine and it's our new YouTube project, ZPP Kiev Talks. German company Bayer has invested in Ukraine more than 60 million euros after the full-scale invasion. The company took such a step to set good example for others and to support Ukraine in difficult times. Now I will talk about this investment and how to run businesses in Ukraine with Oliver Gierlichs, Managing Director and Chief Financial Officer at Bayer.
ZPP Kiev Talks.
Oliver, hello and welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. What is your assessment of the current situation for doing business in Ukraine? What drives resilience in wartime Ukraine?
Overall, I would say the current situation is still positive. It's still a positive decision to continue to do business in Ukraine despite the war. At the same time, I think you have to look a bit into the sectors where it makes more and less sense. So agriculture, which is our main business, is certainly ongoing. There's a lot of effort to keep the Black Sea harbors open, the grain corridor. Farmers are eager to continue with business. So it's still positive despite certain hiccups. In some other areas, it's a little bit different. It can be a bit more complicated nowadays. It's a bit more difficult when you want to invest for some companies because of war insurance or financing. But again, overall, I would say it is positive despite the war. When it comes to resilience, well, I mean, it depends on from which angle you look. I mean, for the people, what is the alternative? Not doing anything is not an option. So you continue to do your job, and I think that employers, I think that the country is doing the utmost to take care of safety and security of people, and nobody here wants to think about the alternative if Ukraine doesn't prevail. So I think over time, as we have adapted to Corona, we have adapted to the war, and people are just living with it and have adapted.
What is your experience of working in Ukraine during a full-scale invasion? How does your company adapt to war?
Definitely nobody wants a war, that's for sure. At the same time, it's an incredible experience when I look at my team and how we have been working since the very first days of the war. I remember that the first day, on the 24th of February 22, my team was finishing first salary payments of our employees to make sure that they had money to move in the country if necessary before they took care of themselves. So that was just on the first day an incredible proof of solidarity among the employees. And yes, it is an incredible experience when it comes to see how people stick together. We're sitting in the same boat. We want the positive result. So it's a very gratifying experience, I would say. How did we adapt? I think like basically all other companies, we had the chance that with COVID before we had learned to work by distance, and we have done everything to support our people. So everybody who was eager to leave Kiev, for example, to the west or even leave the country, we have supported with additional payments, with health insurance, with they could take the cars, we insured them abroad. We have provided and still do provide psychological support. We have not only looked at our employees and their direct family members, we have been looking very much at the broader families when they went with them. So I think there was a very clear sign that Bayer supports to whatever extent our employees, and that is paying back multiple times, that people are very happy and proud and conscious about the good luck to work for a company like Bayer. Some others have done similar things. So I think it's a give and take. We take care of our people, and they are eager to be with a company that really walks the talk and does what we always have said we would do for our people.
Unfortunately, we are in third year of war. Do you feel any fatigue about the war?
Yeah, again, I think people are tired of the war, and everybody would like to have the war ending very soon. At the same time, not under every condition. So it can only be under the condition that Ukraine remains a free democratic country that decides on its own destiny and not ruled by an aggressor from outside with rules that nobody would accept here. So tiredness, yes. Um, Lowering the arms and accepting whatever comes, no.
But what should the Ukrainian government do to attract new investment to the country?
That's a very good question that could take a long time to discuss that. Um, the government is already doing quite a bit, but I think the tools that we see can be enhanced and probably improved. The first thing that I would do as a government today, now that after almost 2.5 years, we see that not so much new investment has come in, I would ask myself, what is the kind of investment that I want to attract? Is it new investors that have never been in Ukraine? Or is it those that are in Ukraine and could potentially, knowing how the country works, add additional investment to what they have already? So I think this clear separation is a first step to say, what kinds of tools do we have? If we look at what the government is providing Ukraine invest with investment nannies, with tax cuts, etc., a lot of these tools rather seem to be for greenfield investments, new companies coming in. Now, there are companies that have not been in Ukraine before, partly because the market maybe was not so attractive, but others because they were just saying, okay, rule of law, corruption index, there are things that I don't like. This has not changed to an extreme extent. And now there's a war on top. So why should these companies come now? So then you have to maybe do something else. You have to say, what can I do to attract companies now? And that is the other part of the question. Do I want the investment now during the war or later? If I want it now, I have to give something that companies would have now and not later. So, for example, exempt at least temporarily from some taxes, for example, or import duties or something like that, that people can have now during the war, during martial law, but not at a later stage. So I think it can be made much more clearer which tool and which instrument would help for which kind of investor. And that would potentially help that one or the other would redo his business plan and come to a positive result.
I know you are often in Europe, so you talk to investors, to businesses. What they say about Ukraine now after 2 years of full-scale invasion? Is it time for them to invest, or maybe after the war?
So just to clarify, I'm living in Kiev, so that is really where I am based. But you're right, on behalf of Ukraine Invest at some stages, or for my other job as president of the German-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, I'm also going abroad to participate in panel discussions in shows, investment shows, to convince companies to invest and to use our example as buyer as a good example. So yeah, you see a lot of interest from many companies, and indeed they are trying to figure out what is the right moment to invest. Is it rather now, with all the advantages that it would bring? You find qualified employees, you have access to affordable rent, you have this status of having been in Ukraine when the country most needed you and it will never go away. So there's, I think, quite some advantages to come now. But of course, on the other side, you have the war risk. It could be that your production site is targeted. So here again, what we see as a trend so far is certain industries are coming now, particularly the defense industry. You know that a couple of German companies have entered the country already with their own companies and even sites on ground. Others are rather waiting. And here again, what can you do? I think the government can send a very clear signal that certain things are needed. Example, reconstruction. We know that we need to reconstruct the infrastructure and a lot of housing in the country. And if you would ask, let's stick with the German companies that have the reputation of having very advanced construction materials for low emission houses, yeah, then these materials are more expensive. If the government sends a clear signal to say, this is how we want to rebuild this country with this kind of advanced housing, then this company would come now in order to be ready when the reconstruction starts. But if the ministries do not bring that on the road, and for the time being, there's still the plan to rebuild what we have, then there's no incentive because you know with your price of your material, you will never win a tender. And that is what needs to be done. And that is what the companies are trying to figure out. They are looking very closely, depending on the interest to Ukraine, in which direction the government is going and the ministries, and then they decide to invest now or later.
So you mean Ukraine proposed not enough incentive package, yes? So it should be wider incentive package for the international companies, yes?
Well, as I mentioned before, on one hand, you have a possibility to give incentives during martial law, which would definitely be an incentive. But just to look at how we want to rebuild this country in the future, is a sign. It's not even an incentive. It is a clear signal to the companies. What is the future of Ukraine? Is it rebuilding what we have, or is it build back better? And this signal needs to come. That is not even an incentive, in my opinion. It is just a clear signal to the rest of the world. What is the future of Ukraine? To be a modern country with an extremely modern infrastructure that used the chance of destroyed infrastructure to build it on first class with the latest technologies.
Yes, you mentioned build back better. So everybody in Ukrainian politician circle now talking about this build back better. But what is it and what should it be? Preparing for the future or reconstruction the past?
Yeah, I mean, you answered it by yourself. Who wants to go back in time? Of course, I think everybody's eager to make Ukraine a modern country, a modern democracy, with a very advanced technology and infrastructure. Now, preparing that, the time for that is now, in my opinion. So now the Ministry for Reconstruction, for Construction, needs to build the plans how houses can be built in the future. And the reason to say houses need to remain affordable, that is, in my opinion, not and therefore we don't do that. In my opinion, is not the right way. I mean, we see it in Germany that after the Second World War, houses were built very quickly in the big cities, and today we have major problems of paying for heating, for reconstructing or enhancing the buildings today with modern materials. At the end of the day, it's much more expensive. I think that here the Ukrainian government absolutely needs to talk to the international donors and make sure that the money that is invested in Ukraine now is really used to build this kind of houses and to make it still affordable for normal citizens to rent or to buy them.
Yeah, you live in Ukraine, you understand the situation right now. So electricity is very, we are in very bad situation with electricity and with economy, unfortunately. So, what should be done maybe, and what would be the signal from the Ukrainian government at the Berlin Recovery Conference?
It is very unfortunate that the aggressor is targeting the energy infrastructure, and yeah, I mean it is what it is. There's a lot of destruction, and we cannot say anything different. I think the companies here are doing miracles to restore as much as they can. The last winter was a pretty good one. The first one they managed to keep floating somehow. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do until the next winter starts. It is a signal, but again, here I think teaming up with companies and government abroad to get everything in terms of generators and everything that enhances the electrical landscape to bring it to Ukraine and nowhere else for the time being. That must be it. And then, of course, the protection that goes with it, with additional Patriot defense systems or others. So that must be the objective. I'm not a specialist in electricity, but I think a very much decentralized electric system would be the solution for the future, though it's more difficult to target and to destroy so many things with one attack. The other topic that I think the government needs to take care of is the mobilization. Ukraine is fighting two wars. One is the economic war, and one is a military war. And it remains important that we find a good balance between both of them. And it doesn't help the government and the country at all if the economic battle is getting lost. So the way how mobilization is done needs to follow the rules that the government has written itself, and we see too many irregularities here. I think it would be a very good signal to the existing industry here and those who are looking into Ukraine for investment, to ensure that the process works better.
But unfortunately, really, we are in bad scape now because of the mobilization. You're absolutely right. And we saw some news from the Office of the President and other institutions, so that economic reservation of the people at the facilities would be lower, and maybe it would be not an option at the nearest future. So it would only worsen the situation with economy and with international companies that are heading to Ukraine, isn't it?
Yeah, in a way. One topic is how many employees you can mobilize. That is one thing. For me, for the time being, the bigger question is how is it done? The system of reservation is implemented, but it is not necessarily respected by every military office. And that gives a lot of uncertainty. We have people that are key for our business, but even for the country. Let me give you an example. We have our pharma quality manager. He's the only one who has his qualified signature to release medicine to the Ukrainian market. If he's mobilized, then we cannot bring any product to the market. We cannot deliver any product. It cannot be in the interest of the country not to have antibiotics or radiology products or others. So it needs to be respected. If that person is reserved, he's reserved, full stop. And don't play with that you try to find a loophole, or you delay the new reservation so that there's a gap. And during that gap period, the person is reserved. It doesn't help the country, it doesn't help the company, it doesn't help anybody. There's enough people that you can still mobilize, but it should happen in an orderly way.
What would you say to those who saying that men should go to the front line? Please hire women.
I know that some areas are going for that, and they are openly speaking about it. At the end of the day, what we see is that certain sectors are simply dominated by women or by men. I mean, look at our company itself. We have our crop science business, which is traditionally rather dominated by men, and you would not find so quickly so many women who have the qualification to replace that. In the pharmaceutical sector, it's just the other way around. You find a lot of pharmacists and doctors who are women, and here it's just naturally that you have much more women and also in our ranks than men. So, is it a strategy? I don't think that this. In some cases it may work, but it's not a general strategy. I don't think so.
I know that your company, since the full-scale invasion, helped Ukrainians a lot, and you mentioned also you helped your own workers. And tell us more about, please, your humanitarian project.
Yeah, thank you. We have three ways of helping Ukraine. The first one is that we just remain here. We continue to support Ukraine to have everything that is needed at the core of the needs of the country. So agriculture and healthcare. We pay our people still very good salaries. We continue to serve them. So that is one thing. The third pillar that we saw is our investment that creates new jobs, new dynamics here in the country that even is very good for export. The second pillar that we always have seen is our humanitarian donation work. So we have donated so far above 20 million. We are, I think, above 23 million euro for the time being, which consists of ongoing donations in the seeds area, vegetable seeds, corn seeds, particularly for farmers who could not afford that, or in the terms of vegetables for communities that would suffer from famine close to the front line. We have donated and continue to do so all kind of medicines that we can afford and that we can grab and bring them to Ukraine. And we have supported through financial support, for example, to work on post-traumatic stress for children or even also for adults. We have helped immediately after the Kakhovka Dam was exploding. We have brought a lot of material to ensure drinkable water, to avoid diseases. And just recently, last week, two trucks of hospital material came to Ukraine from one of our research facilities in Germany that we have brought all together to this country and that is now serving in two hospitals in Ukraine.
Great. This is a great statistics. Thank you very much for that. And tell us, please, more about your preparation for tough winter. How you and your company preparing for this winter?
We have done that already for the last one, and then luckily didn't need so much of it. So we bought an awful number of batteries, smaller and bigger ones to keep our core business running, computers, printers. We have a generator now for our offices that is also working these days quite a lot. Then we have ensured that we have several layers of internet in our offices so that people, when one internet switches off, can switch to another one. When it was necessary in the first winter, we had also a secondary office that we were renting where we had a bigger chance that we would have electricity in one or the other office. We have given our people the possibility to work by distance, some even abroad, to ensure that our core business remains working. So I would say we have not done something terribly new now, but we enhance and refine what we had already done in the first winter and then prepared even better for the second one, where again we didn't need it really. But we have it at our disposition, and we will make use of it if it turns out that we really need it.
Cool. And my last question would be, what is your personal advice? Maybe how can Ukraine keep its economy afloat?
Continue to do what we do now. Looking at the farming market, support your customers, make sure that this is not us against them, but that we are having the same objective. We want the farmers to be able to work. So we do our utmost things. We help, for example, with demining. We help, which is another topic in donations. So we help that a lot of arable land is recovered as quickly as possible so that farmers can do their work. And then we look at their needs, for example, when it comes to financing, when it comes to availability of seeds or crop protection products. So I think we are in a good, rather in a good partnership with the right farmers than seeing them as what we win, they lose, or vice versa. We have to find a good solution. I think most sectors have worked in that way. I was very impressed how the internet companies have made their systems resilient. Electricity, although targeted all the time, we see that with the banking system. So I think if Ukrainian companies continue to do what they have done so far, and if Ukrainian authorities and the government look again at the already positive things that they have done in providing tools. We have this 975 program that was a very good one in the beginning. Maybe it has to be revised now with the new economic reality and lower tax interest rates today. We see that with tax cuts for new investments, maybe that has to be adapted to the new reality. So I would say keep on doing what we have done so far and look at some of the instruments, if we can sharpen them and refine them to a changing reality, and then maybe attract now investment that would even help the country to improve a little bit more.
Great. So I think we will go through this winter and we will be stronger than we are now. So thank you very much for this great interview, great talks. You are the first guest of this ZPP Talks. Thank you very much for joining us and stay in touch.
Thank you for having me.
ZPP Kiev Talks.